My name is Clive Pawakwenyewa. I'd like to welcome you all to this episode of the Beyond the Hype podcast. The conversation has been going on for a very long time, and what we have been discussing is basically how it is that young people are going to find space after the issuing of the pastoral letter by the bishops entitled "The March is Not Ended" in August of 2020. So this is the fifth iteration of this conversation, and we're going to be looking at the Catholic Commission of Justice and Peace, basically their history, and more importantly, how young people can find space within the work of CCJP. I am joined today by my guest, Mr. Paul Muchena. He is the National Coordinator of CCJP. Thank you very much for accepting our invite, and welcome to the program.
Wonderful, and welcome, Clive.
Thank you. So I think we can just get right into it. What is CCJP? Where is it that they're coming from? How is it that they've become such a household name, especially in terms of the church and its participation in politics, governance, and those sorts of issues?
Thank you. Sure, I want to agree with you that CCJP, which is the Catholic Commission of Justice and Peace in Zimbabwe, household name for the church in Zimbabwe or the Catholic Church in Zimbabwe. Basically, it was formed in 1972. That's a long back by the bishops, then conference, the Rhodesian Catholic Conference. How it came by was because of the situation, the colonial situation of the time. There were a lot of injustices which were going on. And basically, it was also that's when the liberation struggle really started. And there were a number of issues which were being raised by those who were colonized, that is the Zimbabweans by then, due to, if you look at the work situation, unequal education, a lot of injustices when you go into labor issues, everywhere you would see that there was actually unequal development between the colonizers and those who were colonized. So then, because by then, the few black people who had gone through their secondary education or even some form of primary education started to read around and understand their situation, and basically the situation of them being marginalized, but them being the sole owners of this land. And by then, the church also saw it fit to raise the voices of those people. As you might know, that the church gave a voice to the people. And particularly the Catholic Church, if you would know from the history of church in Zimbabwe, it had most of the institutions, such as educational institutions, health institutions, and the like. And then these became institutions of the formation of that group of young people by then who started to question about their situation. And hence the church also came in to say, okay, this is their situation, and that it was a colonial situation, and people were marginalized, as I have already said. Then the church found it fit to also start this commission where voices of those concerned will be raised.
What is CCJP doing now? I think especially, with regards to what's been going on in the country, it's not everything is well, politically, socially, economically, and even I think in the context of the Beyond or the March is Not Ended pastoral letter. What is CCJP doing in these contemporary times?
It's quite unfortunate, having given you the history behind the formation of Catholic Commission of Justice and Peace. As church, we found it very disturbing that what was happening, before independence, just carried it over,
Yes.
but with a different, bearers and people just taking, even worsening the situation than which was obtaining in the pre-colonial. So currently, CCJP is continuing with its oversight on social injustice, political, the political situation which is currently obtaining, the economic situation which is currently obtaining, and the bishops have been giving a number of statements and pastoral letters to really talk about the situation, to say this situation is not really good.
Yes, no, I think I get your understanding of the situation, and I think so. What CCJP has been doing, from what I'm understanding, is raising kind of the voice and raising the issues. Guessing there was also some involvement even in the electoral cycle and the like. Can you speak more about some of those activities that CCJP was doing on the ground?
Okay, it has, and it's actually continuing to do that. And for instance, in the elections, it's really is an arm, a social arm of the church, is to promote engagement, it to promote participation, and promote social cohesion. So, for instance, in the past and really continuing right up now, CCJP has been really on board regarding to civic education on elections. Yes, and what is the role of a Christian? What is the role of a Catholic during an election cycle?
Mr. Muchena, what was the march about, really?
The march regarding the pastoral letter is theological, innuendo to say that everyone, and in what we are doing, we are on a journey. Life is a journey, and as we wake up every day in the morning, we are on a journey to better our lives, to better the situation which is there, and to better for the generations which are coming. So, as we set foot on every day, as we do our prayers, as we do our work, we are on a journey. But this journey is not easy. Therefore, we have to march, and marching is all of us coming together, joining into this journey, going to the future. So that's the march, and it will never end. It always goes. But during that march, if we are marching for something better for our people, then let it be. So that's the march which the pastoral letter is actually talking about. It's not the march of us getting into the streets or bishop going into the streets to march to wherever, but actually it is a march in life to a better future and a better life for the ordinary Zimbabwean.
What do you think it says to young people in particular, and how can they get involved, even maybe with some of the activities that CCJP is doing? But I think most importantly, what is it saying to young people? Where are the spaces and opportunities that they can use to operationalize this message that's coming from the March is Not Ended?
Wonderful. I think the March is Not Ended actually speaks more closer to the youths, because their journey is still longer than the journey of some of us who have started long back to March. But for the young people, it means, I think if you read closely into the contents of the pastoral letter, it actually gives the background of the current situation, where we came from as a nation.
Yes.
Even, reflecting on, because it actually, it was published during the Heroes Holiday.
Yes.
What are heroes? What do we give to those people who died for this country? What was the main aim and purpose of the liberation struggle? It was to bring independence to Zimbabwe. But did we get it? Are we enjoying it? Are we getting it right now? So then, if you see the development and the subtitles in the pastoral letter, they look at the current events.
Yes.
What is really happening during the COVID and all these, challenges which an ordinary Zimbabwe is meeting. Then we moved on to say, but where did we come from? And where are we going? So you can actually put it into those three main eras. The current situation, where we were as a nation, and so forth. And where do we destined ourselves to go? Now, for the youth, one issue I would want is read closely, the youths to come on board, read closely what the bishops were saying. What is their role in the current situation in their country, in Zimbabwe? Unfortunately, most of the youths, if you want to see those who have pursued their studies or have pursued their professional trainings, most of them, you see, they find themselves with nothing to do. There are no jobs. There's no involvement of the youth. If you look closely into most of our national processes going on. So because of what is happening or being said in the pastoral letter, the youths are asked now to march and to join in, particularly in engaging. That's very important. Engaging the current processes going on. And some of the activities where the youths would now come in.
What are these current processes? Because I think now that we're speaking of engagement and youth,
Mm-hmm.
we really need to be concrete and say this and this process, there's this mode of entry, and this is how you can kind of get involved. So I think when you say current processes, what do you mean, and what are the openings that either are already existing or ones that we need to agitate to make sure that they can get opened?
Wonderful. As you know, I would probably start with where CCJP is not. It's not this office. It lies out there in our parishes. It lies out there in our centers, in our communities, with our animators. So we will. I will focus probably on CCJP programs which are already there.
Yes.
We have a number of them. There's engagement with the National Peace and Reconciliation Commission regarding its mandate. If you look at this constitutional mandate, what is it? It was supposed to bring on, to address the past disturbances and all these things and so on. And they've done that. So for youths, it's just grabbing your constitution. Look at the mandate of the NPRC. So the youths, how do we bring a reconciled society? Look back to what I was been presenting, that there are a number of challenges, economic, social, political. So the youths have much to play in. Now we look at issues to do with moral and elected leadership. What do we mean? We have a moral leadership in terms of like the traditional leaders and all this. These are moral leaders in society. We look up to them. Now, are they really playing their role as moral leaders in communities, as traditional leaders, and so forth? But to our own assessment as CCJP, no. So the youth also should play a part in communities to actually, check on the moral leaders. On elected leadership, I think I cannot say much. This is where the youth should be coming in and so on during elections and so forth.
And getting involved with local CCJPs in their parishes is one of these ways?
Mm-hmm. Oh. Yeah, exactly. Even joining their local, that's very important. One other program which I would want to say that youth should take part is, we have a program known as natural resource governance. The youth should take much interest in this by researching, by documenting, and also trying to engage, coming up with policy positions.
Any kind of participation has been met with some sort of resistance. I think even student leaders right now, they're in and out of jail and they're like, what would you say to young people who are afraid? What would you say to them regards with everything that is going on right now in the country and what the March is not ended is talking about. What would you say to those people who read the March is not ended and feel, I believe in what you are saying, but I am afraid?
I think fear is one of the vices which the Catholic Church normally, puts on the phone. And if you'd read some of this, encyclicals, papal encyclicals actually denotes fear as a structure of sin. I hope you understand that.
Same one.
Yes. So we need to be, as we would understand any sin or address any sin or confront any sin, the same would want to address this structure of fear, which has been, it's well calculated fear, well calculated in terms of those who are in leadership. They have to make sure that people are in perpetual fear, and then it becomes a structure. You cannot express yourself. You cannot do this. You cannot associate with this person. So it becomes a structure of sin. And if people continue being in that, just like continue in a state of sin, you just continually sinning. you understand what I'm saying? So that becomes. So how do we confront fear, and how can the young people come in? I think as Catholic Church, we have a number of entry points. One, we have already identified, from wherever we are coming from, the Catholic institution and structures, and well organized structures from the family itself. Remember how the Catholic Church, takes the family as the core of our faith. So our faith starts in the family. You see how the church addresses the family needs. This is why even the bishops, they become worried. If anything that affects the family in terms of social, economic issues, challenges, they address it. So our church starts from the family, goes to the small Christian communities, goes to the center, and all these structures right up to the conference levels. So these are all entry points for the youths. So my question would be, what are we doing as youths in our families? Is it possible? So to address fear, we have to start from the family ourselves. What is happening there? One thing to address fear and to actually confront a structure of sin. Are we having purposeful prayers and programs which are coming from the families? In our families, are we praying together? Are we also identifying these challenges as families before we go into the communities? And you will see that the role of the youth is well catered for. But of course, at national level and as institutions, then we would come in with different programs. Remember, even as CCJP, together with Silveria House, we are saying, I think it's very important for our youths to understand what the Constitution means. What is in the Constitution? And how do we come up with laws? It's very important to understand your Constitution. If not, then it will really impact negatively on you in terms of practicing your own freedoms, your own rights, and so on. Do you know the Bill of Rights? How do we come about with these ones? And if you look at your Constitution right now and look at the social teachings of the church, particularly the principles which lead to the Constitution, I'm telling you, it will tell you that because the church also participated in the Constitution making. I did. And we had to, see that, some of the own principles are inculcated in the Constitution. So those are some of the things or activities where the youth can come in. But lastly, it's not only your participation as a Catholic, but I would envisage a situation where you participate, take charge as a Zimbabwean citizen. There's a national convention platform where we have said the business should be brought on board, labor should be brought on board, civil society and church, 4 structures.
Yes.
To say, because long back, I think you have heard about the Zimbabwe we want.
Yes.
It was only church going on, and so then we saw, I think there was something, an anomaly, where it was only the church saying. Even up to now, even leadership is very good and very fast to say, church should not be participating in some of these things. But then we have said, no, I think it's good. Of course, we have been doing alone. Where's labor? Where's business? Where are other civil society organizations? So as Zimbabwe Heads of Christian Denominations, through CCJP, we have formed what we call a national convergence platform, where these 4 converge and speak with one voice. Hence, even from the solidarity messages, you could see they came from far and abroad, because everyone now is in. And the youths should take an active role to make sure that the NCP is operational. The message of the bishops has been brought to fruition.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Muchena,
Yeah.
for this very interesting conversation. Thank you very much also to our listeners and viewers for joining us. Our hope here is that we continue the conversation. So, thank you very much. And
You're welcome,
to our
Clive.
viewers, see you in the next episode.